better if you're going to just let a humongous belch rip. It's always better to do it before the show starts. Otherwise,
are you the kind of guy that gets to the movie theater and cuts a really tremendous fart right before walking in and just kind of blows in after you?
No. I do that on my way out. See, I make sure I get out of there before the movie's done so I can crop dust everybody in the theater.
You know, it's rough when they've got a name for it.
It's crop dusting, man. My favorite thing is to go to Taco Bell, eat 20 tacos, and walk around the mall and kill people with my gas.
If you eat 20 tacos, I think that's more like suicide rather than killing anyone else.
I thought that was just eating Taco Bell. I could be wrong on that one.
I don't know. 20 Taco Bell tacos seems a bit like overkill.
I think any Taco Bell is overkill, but that's just me.
How many times do you eat Taco Bell?
I don't eat Taco Bell. I stay the fuck away from it.
I probably eat Taco Bell about once a month.
Unless I wanted to clean out my entire GI tract and shit my brains out, I'm not eating Taco Bell, okay?
It's terrible, food, but it's handy. It's right there. So yeah.
Uh-huh. So is the dog shit on the ground. Anyway, hello, listeners and viewers, people. Howdy.
Looks like Tim Niederreader says you are starting off strong, Paul.
And every restaurant is Taco Bell. Thank you, Matt.
Yes, but I still want to know what the 3 seashells is all about.
I don't think we're ever going to discover that, but I think somebody does need to write a story trying to figure it out. I think that needs to be there. I think that would actually be a good one to have. I could be wrong. If my desk is shaking, I'm sorry. It's because I'm using my standing desk. I need to keep my hands off the desk. I'll do my best to do that. Anyway. In case you didn't know, I'm Paul E. Cooley, and sitting next to me or standing next to me and 30 miles away is Terry Mixon. Actually, it's more like 40, isn't it?
Probably closer to 50 or 60.
Is it really that far? Holy shit. Even I forgot.
We're at exit 22. What exit are you on the highway?
I don't even remember, but I'm pretty sure it's like 98. So, yeah. He's Terry Mixon. I'm Paul E. Cooley. We're your hosts today for all sorts of crazy nonsense, which most of you are used to because that's why you're here. We don't know why.
I probably should, actually post the link to this in Facebook.
That might be a good idea because I posted it twice in Twitter. The fact that you're not doing your job on Facebook, that's your fault.
Wait a minute. Do I have a job? What is this job thing you speak of?
You're the co-host. I just made you admin on the system, and you're telling me you don't have a job.
Oh, gosh. I need to kick your ass right out of this conversation. Right now, that's what I need to
do. When your co-host boots you from the... It's just not going to go well. None of this is going well. Oh, Dan Sawyer's Negative Population Growth Anthology. Wow. That would be terrifying. That would be really terrifying. All right, Terry, what are we starting with today?
We're starting maybe posting the link here in Facebook. So hang on just
all right,
one
well, let's
second.
give those people a moment to show up because you didn't do your job. Since I'm not on Facebook and never will be again. So is everybody surviving the cold weather?
It's kind of chilly, but I bet it's really cold up north.
I was talking about them, not us. We're wearing t-shirts in our houses. Although the wind is a little gusty today. And it's cold. Oh, Terry, you're so slow. So slow.
I type like an old man or something.
Why didn't you use Dragon Dictation to do your Facebook while you're at it?
That would be really awkward. All right, I posted the links.
Okay, we'll give those couple of people a few minutes then.
Yeah, they'll either show up or they won't show up, by golly.
Screw them. Yard work with snow on the ground. Yeah, that sounds about right. Nevada's reasonable.
Can you do yard work when you don't actually have a yard? You've just got snow. That doesn't count, right?
Why are you cutting the grass if there's snow on the ground? I don't understand, Tony. Explain this to me.
I totally can imagine taking a weed eater to the snow. That would be awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I can understand a leaf blower because it blow, hot air, so to speak, warm air anyway. But I'm just not sure I get that. unless the snow is just out of the bushes, but that's just me. Yeah, I know we can stream to all those things. We probably will start streaming to Twitch at some point, but that has its own little goofiness that we're going to have to navigate. Plus, we probably have to do live shows on a more regular basis.
You know, I still can't get over this whole winter yard work. Maybe if you take a chainsaw and you're cutting ice sculptures, that counts as yard work.
Got to get this fence back up after the tree fell on it. Oh, shit. Oh, Tony, I'm sorry to hear that, man. That's not yard work. That's like house maintenance. Yard maintenance. Totally different thing. Oh, yikes. I don't envy you that. Don't envy you that.
So the other thing going on is that a couple of days ago, author and teacher Dave Wolverton, who goes by the name Dave Farland, fell down the stairs and suffered a hemorrhagic stroke in his brainstem. And he passed away maybe 17 hours later on life support. So a sudden and tragic end to somebody that's been a teacher and beloved of a lot of people in the indie writing community. So that's something we should talk about.
As well as outside of that, he was Brandon Sanderson's mentor and several other people. So he had a lot of impact on not just indie writers, but also traditionally published and some big names. I did not know the gentleman, but I saw.
Did you talk to him at the convention we were at with him?
No.
When we sold books at Comic-Con, he had that big thing that was set up right next to ours with all the books. But I forget what the name of it was, but that was him.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't know.
My wife and I talked to him there briefly on the way out, so I can say that I spoke with him, but it wasn't a very long conversation.
Yeah, it sucks to lose luminaries and folks that, are really responsible for showing the new writers the ropes and, helping people get to their get their dreams accomplished and become better at what they do. And it's always really rough to lose somebody like that. And sympathies to his family and to everybody who knew him and all those who didn't get a chance to know him, like me, for, someone basically alike getting snuffed out a little bit early.
What's a little bit frightening there is somehow people like us are now starting to become people that folks look to for guidance and advice, which is terrifying, isn't it?
I'm really starting to question their choices. I could be wrong on that.
Life is full of questionable life decisions anyway, but let's just run with it.
Let's see. Tim says Dave Wolverton's signature adorned his first every published story where he gave it an honorable mention in Writers of the Future. Nice. Nice. Very nice. Well, if you didn't notice, Terry has what's in a title in his name. He's a bad man. Very bad man. Terry, why do you have that?
Such a simple question with such a complex answer. I'm about to start writing on the second co-authored novel, and the publisher says, "So what's the title?" And I'm like, well, damn it. Now I've got to come up with a title. Usually the title is almost the last thing I'm thinking about when I write a story.
You and I are so different. So fucking different. I usually have... Go ahead. Titles come easy. Titles are very easy for me. It's the title. Once I get the story idea, the title just jumps out at me. Sometimes I'll change it, but I almost always have a working title before I even put a single word on the page.
See, that's the problem, though. I can come up with working titles just fine. And
what's the problem?
The problem is that he's going to put it on the cover. He's got the cover art done. So I'm committed when I pick that damn title. And I've also got to pick one. It has to go through an approval process too. So, it's not just me making a decision.
I like William's idea. Title of next book, Cat Venger and the Nefarious Bacon. I like that idea. Actually,
we could totally write that short story.
No shit. So how much space do you have for the title on the cover?
I'm going to back up a little bit from that.
Okay, go ahead.
And say that in general, I don't want to see a title with more than 3 words. It doesn't seem like, when you start getting really long, that anything more than 3 words really works.
Getting pounded in my butt by my own butt while somebody watches my butt.
Yeah, we can't do that.
Oh my God.
Oh man.
Tingle.
But once the show is over, I'll brainstorm a bunch of titles. Luckily, in this case, I've submitted a outline of what the novel is probably going to be, and it's not settled yet, but I have an idea of the types of things that are going on. So I'll be able to go ahead and put together half a dozen different title ideas and throw them up on the wall and see what sticks.
Do you at least have a synopsis for this book?
I just said I wrote an outline. What do you want?
Okay, you got the outline. That's not a synopsis. They're 2 different things.
Well, maybe I'm using it for the same, because it's definitely not an outline. Okay. Basically, I meandered through about 4 or 5 pages of here's what I think is going to happen.
That's not even a synopsis either. Okay. All right.
It's a roadmap. I made a roadmap of where I think this novel is going to go.
What's the title of the first book?
The Last Hunter.
The Last Hunter. You stole my title, you son of a bitch, from one of my Garaga short stories. You're fired.
All of the good titles I steal from somebody. I tried to go ahead and name the second book Invasion, but so many different books have already been titled Invasion. What did he say?
How about Incursion?
Maybe. I'll have to think about it. But I was told that somebody else already had a couple of novels titled Invasion, so that was a bad idea. So okay, back to the drawing board I go.
The next hunter. Tim, stop it. You're clawing through my synapses. Cut that shit out. Okay. So what's the difference between this book and the next book?
What are you talking about?
Well, how is the plot differ?
I can't say.
Okay.
I'm under a non-disclosure agreement. I can't say.
All right.
I can't say.
I forgot about that. Okay, fine. Does the cover give you any ideas?
The cover was made to order, and I knew what it was going to cover, and it gives me ideas. I'm going to have some secondary characters that I can use for bits and pieces of point of view this time around, and it sets up what I'm going to be doing. So I already knew pretty much what that was. The problem is I'm not going to be able to describe anything about the novel when saying I'm trying to work out the title. So I can't give you anything that's going to help give me an answer. It's one I'm going to have to come up with my own, but it's a great question to talk about.
It is a good question.
Now, when we talk about the last Imperial novel, Marines novel that I wrote, I started off with the working title of War Footing, and within 20,000 words, I knew that plot was not going to go anywhere near where that title could cover.
We just had this discussion last week.
We did. I kept the working title all the way through until I finished it, but I already came up with a new title for it. Instead of being War Footing, it's now Enemy Action. The title covers more of what's going on, whereas the other didn't anymore.
Gotcha.
I'll reuse War Footing later. It just didn't work out this time.
Okay. That's understandable. Titles are a nightmare for a number of reasons, because you have to try from a PR standpoint. It has to be something that hopefully folks will remember or that entices them into it. Now, the title in conjunction with the cover can do that. The title alone can do that, or the cover alone can do that.
Well, do you remember seeing the cover from the first one?
It's been a while, dude.
Since it's out in the wild,
You could actually share it. I can
actually share that one here in the link here, so that people can see the title of that. Where is it?
You came woefully unprepared.
Well, I literally didn't know this was what we were going to be talking about. So there is that.
That is not true. We talked about what we were going to talk about an hour and a half or 30 minutes before the show started. Don't even try and give me that shit.
Yeah.
Can having a good title help focus your first draft?
Did that show up or did it send to me?
It showed up.
Okay, just making sure.
It showed up.
But that'll show you what the cover looks like here for the first one. And you can see that it's got a person on it and a spaceship. And I can't really say what's in the next one, but you can imagine it follows the same theme to some degree.
Okay.
That should be safe enough to say.
There we go. How's that? Doesn't that look pretty?
It's too bad I couldn't, just post the cover in there, but
you could share your screen.
How do you do that? How do you share the screen?
You know what? We're not going to do that right now. We're at a live show. We'll do that later.
There's no telling what would actually show up.
Yeah, there's no telling how many porno videos, you dirty old man, you've got running right now.
Like a bar across there flashing. Don't do this.
No. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. Matt, I don't think Hunter's song Dream Bowel Movement is going to work. I'm just saying, good try, good swing, but I think maybe that's a foul ball.
It's always a challenge for us as especially, I've got 14 books in the Empire of Bones series. Coming up with titles that aren't repetitive, that cover what's going on, that still fit the same kind of theme, that can be challenging.
At some point, you're just going to have on the cover, fuck it. That'll be the title. They're like, fuck it.
Yeah, then Amazon would, put a little asterisk in the middle of it for me.
Oh, but it would be so enjoyable to see. It would be so hilarious. I don't know how you do that after, 14 books, 15 books in the same series. But then again, you keep coming up with the stories. So each story has some kind of indication of a title in it.
Mm-hmm. Most times I don't know what that's going to be until I'm done. But with the new book, at least I know what the proposed plot is. So I know the things that are going to be happening. So I can write a title that will fit it. But I just have to make sure that it fits the sensibilities of the publisher too, because it's an equal decision in this.
Yeah, this is not an indie thing. You were actually under contract and working with a publisher.
Correct.
Yeah. The fact that you get to choose the title is a little odd.
Well, choose the title? No.
Okay.
Suggest titles that
the title
selected from is probably closer to the truth. This is something of a mutual decision sort of thing.
Okay, I gotcha. I remember Sigler, I think, with Infected, had originally called it Infection, but then some dipshit asshole who doesn't make movies but just grabs IP rights threatened to do something or other because it was called Infection, or maybe the publishing house got worried. I can't remember how it worked, but that's why he changed it to Infected, if I remember correctly. So titles can be a real pain in the ass. There is a Derelict series that is not mine, is nothing like mine. The artwork is different, but suggestible. And when I first saw it, I was irked. But at the same time, it's like derelict is such a common word, such a common theme, such a common trope that who the fuck cares? Well, that's one of the reasons why it's called the Derelict Saga. But that is kind of a pain in the ass to try and make something unique that's going to catch people. But at the same time, it's like if you use a title that's way off the Shadow, could you stop that? That's way out of left field, that is also going to alienate potential readers.
You've got to have your title fit with the genre. It can't be something wildly off target.
Yeah, so it's got to have, it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the story plot, but I think it has to, I think a good title insinuates the theme. If that makes sense. Mm-hmm. The general all theme of the work.
Just like your cover is marketing, so is your title.
Yes.
And so you've got to, the cover, the title, and the blurb are your three primary pieces of marketing when somebody's going to buy your book. So you've got to make sure all of them are tuned well to fit in with your audience. And if you misguess your audience or screw that up, you're really hurting yourself.
I agree. One of the reasons I went with calling Black the Black is because it is a very, very simple, memorable title. It doesn't have without the graphics on the front of it, it doesn't give any kind of context to it. But the cover gives you all the context you need, and after that, you just remember the word. It's like The Thing or The Blob or those kinds of things, or excuse me, along those lines. It's very recognizable. I could have called it anything. I could have just called it M2, but I chose to call it The Black because it was much more in your face and kind of mysterious. And that's why I chose that title. Titles suck, man. They can totally suck. Like I said, mine usually come to me before I put down word one. As soon as I have the scene or anything else, I just put it like that. And I love one-word titles. In case you hadn't noticed.
Nothing wrong with them.
No.
Unless it's named Invasion, where everybody's using the title and you want to use something different.
Invasion of Dunces? Dunce Invasion. There we go. There's a good title for you.
Yeah, I'll keep that one in mind.
Yeah,
see me jotting it down right now.
Yeah, well, yeah, you always take my advice. Let's see. Tony says some of the isekai. I don't know what that is.
It is Japanese.
Okay, novels will just give up on a title and be like, "Here's the plot summarized."
Aisaki, I think. I don't know. I'm not sure how it's pronounced.
That's one that's new on me. Yeah, Pratchett did his stuff very well, but it was also he had a just like Jim Butcher. They've got a formula for some of those titles in those long series. What they do. If you look at Jim Butcher's titles, there's always some kind of word count, syllable count going on there that is pretty consistent. At least with the first 7 books. I don't know about the others. Portal Fantasy. Okay. There are some folks who do very, very good work on those kinds of things, and Pratchett was definitely one of them. And it fit the silliness. It totally fit the silliness of that book, of those books. Piers Anthony did the same thing with Xanth. Excuse me, all the titles were puns. And so go ahead.
The Myth series.
Oh God, yes. The Myth. Oh, another fine myth. Yeah. That's another one. And
Hit or Myth.
And because it's fun, because it has that wordplay with it, it describes the book perfectly. It says, this is goofy. This is going to be fun. Just, jump in and enjoy. That's a very inviting way to do things. Those aren't the kind of books I write. Those aren't the kind of books you write either. Strangely enough, neither one of us write so much goofy. That time I was reincarnated as a slime. Wow. That's frightening. I don't even want to know.
It's much better than Haunted Vagina.
I don't know. I think Haunted Vagina is an excellent title. I thought the synopsis of the story, though, was a little far. That was definitely in the bizarro realm. But the Haunted Vagina, that sounds... definitely not a title I would choose. Definitely not.
It'd be a great story prompt for an anthology. Here's your story title. Go.
I completely agree on that one. I've got a story in my head. I still haven't written it down. I think it's a series of short stories about a dentist, a really bad dentist. Well, he's not necessarily a bad dentist. He just can't run his business, sucks at PR, marketing, the whole 9 yards. He's kind of an asshole. And right as he's about to close down his shop and everything else because he can't afford anything, a woman comes in and says she has a cavity. And then it turns out she has a cavity in her vagina dentata. And hilarity ensues after that, because then all the other fantastical creatures who have teeth problems start coming to him to get them fixed. Werewolves, vampires, whatever. And I don't have any idea what the title for that crazy shit would be. I think I'm going to have to actually write those stories to even come up with a title for it. because I don't know how that's one of the few things I don't have a title for at all in my head. There's nothing. I got nothing to attach to that. It's so bizarre.
Date with a toothsome woman.
That would not be a series title. That would be a short story title. That's actually not a bad short story title. Or Cavities in Cavities.
Ooh, ouch. Little too on point there, buddy.
Okay, that was a little far. Thank you, Lucas.
See what Tony says, he likes to Google potential titles when he's see if he's going to be competing with something else. When I wrote Empire of Bones, I looked to make sure that there were no other books titled that. There was, but it was a fantasy novel, so I felt okay.
That's the other part. If you're switching genres, I don't think you have to be too worried about it. Cavern of Doom. Speaking of,
help, my ex-wife is haunting me.
Oh God. There is a movie called Teeth, which is about a young woman who reaches puberty and she has vagina dentata. It's a very creepy little horror film. It ends so satisfying. It is. I highly recommend it, even as it is very disturbing. You'll thieve it. William, how dare you? Jaws of Passion, Toothy Tales. Oh my God.
You know, you're responsible for this.
One of us usually, well, okay, one of us has to be. Right, it throws money at the screen. Biting off 40.
Oh.
Wow, I'm going to have
more than a mouthful. Okay, we need to stop this now. We've definitely wandered very far afield. I've apparently ruined Paul. He now can't breathe. He's busy covering his face. So I'll take that as a win.
Does he have to shave her before surgery? Okay, I'll stop.
I don't see any of these comments in here. Are they there? Where do they go? They're not in the.
They're here.
They're not inside the one I can see.
Oh, that sounds like a problem for you.
It does sound like a problem for me.
Paul.exe has stopped responding.
Veronica says, sounds like a DRS anthology. Oh,
no.
No, it does not.
No, it does not.
We're not stupid enough to do one of those.
No. Terry, Justin, they did one of those that I don't think it's ever happening again. For good reason. Very good reason. No, I haven't stopped responding. Toothy Tales. That's got promise.
Stories with bite.
Okay, that actually does work. See, we just brainstormed a title thanks to
for an anthology that we're never gonna run.
For an anthology I might run for me.
But it's not an anthology if you do it of your own stories.
No, it's just a short story collection. Yeah.
It's a short story collection. It's different word.
Fine, if you're going to be pedantic about it.
Pedantry is what I do.
Yeah, let's go with that. All right, we're going to take a
chomping
pause.
at the bit. Hi-yo!
While I turn on my coffee cup.
That's something you don't hear every day. I have to turn on my coffee cup.
My brother-in-law gave me and my wife brand new Ember mugs. So basically it's like it's got its own heater in the mug and you basically just turn it on through Bluetooth and it will reheat your coffee. So it's been wonderful for my massive French press. But it is definitely the most ridiculous first world gadget that I've ever come across.
So how long have you actually kept your coffee heating inside the cup?
Probably 30 to 40 minutes.
That's not too bad. If it was like 3 or 4 hours, I'd be questioning.
No. I'm not leaving coffee to bake for 4 hours. Are you kidding? How do you make sure it's different from a vampire collection?
It's truth.
That is a good question. Could just call it dentata.
Yeah, good.
Dentata Tales. That would work, technically. Shadow
Dean
has
asks,
not.
has Shadow destroyed any more French presses?
No.
Why do I see, a scene from Johnny Dangerously with your cat going, I was talked bad to by this French press once.
Once? Yeah. No, I've got the new French press now. He can't even move this thing. So,
oh, now that sounds like a challenge.
don't. Shadow is currently sitting under my monitor and staring at my coffee cup while he's trying to nap standing up. I don't know what he's doing. Oh, yes, of course. We have to give the cats. That Dentatid. Yeah, Dentata has a weird vibe to it. I like that. I do like Dentata.
Hakuna Dentata?
No, that's something completely different. Makuta Dentata?
Just changing the word. Just
is that the
one word out of
version of the Lion King?
Yeah, that's exactly what I just did. That's exactly what I just did.
Oh my God. This is so sad. So I don't know what you're going to do, Terry.
Oh, I do know what I know what I'll do. When we're done here, I'll get some snacks and I'll sit down and I'll rack my brain for an hour and throw together as many titles as I can come up with and then chunk them at the publisher and see which one the publisher prefers.
Hakuna Dentata. The lion has teeth on both ends. Oh my God. Oh.
A story with Maine.
Oh. Okay, we're moving on. We're moving on from this. It means no scurvy for the rest of your days. What?
We are all definitely broken here.
Oh, thank you, Lucas. I appreciate that. I'm glad you enjoyed them. Hopefully the Black Oceania will live up to that.
Yeah, that you have to actually finish writing it first. What are you now at 150,000 words as a target at this point?
That's station 3, not the Black Oceania. Black Oceania, I have a target, but I'm not going to say what it is because I know I'm going to overshoot it. Station 3 is currently over 50,000 words and has no end in sight, which ticks me off no end. They haven't even reached Station 3 yet. That should happen in the next 5 to 10,000 words. I'm fairly confident.
You're never going to get there. Things are just going to keep popping up and you're never actually going to get there.
No,
then you'll have to change the title.
No, I have fucked these people. They have to get out of where they are. They have got to get out of where they are.
It's like that song though. It's closing time. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here.
Exactly. Usually when a subsea station starts to implode, you kind of want to get the fuck off of that. That's probably not a good place to be.
Tim says that he's crying laughing at your reaction. How is he supposed to paint miniatures with a hand like steady hand under these conditions?
I refuse to be held responsible for any goofiness that you do with your miniatures.
Lucas says, taking a bite out of crime, a toothed vagina noir tale.
Oh, boy.
And the dame walked in. She was all legs and teeth and teeth.
More suits, Nikki? Yes, there will be more suits. I have the jury-rigged tale I wrote for the Four Horsemen anthology, which I'll be ripping the serial numbers off of. And then I've got a tale called Mixin, which is in another anthology. And that one's also going in there. And then I have several others that may be related to Soul and Beyond, maybe not.
You realize that you can republish the stories that you wrote for Chris Kennedy. You just have to give acknowledgement that it was there. You don't have to change any bits or pieces of it.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought you had to completely remove the bullshit.
I don't
specific to the series.
I believe that you are allowed after the amount of time to republish the stories. You just have to acknowledge in the lead up to the story. There's something in the contract about where you have to acknowledge that this was originally published in X anthology and is part of the Four Horsemen universe.
Okay.
See,
I'll go back.
I'm pretty sure that they didn't really consider, people like me doing this, because now I've got like 10 short stories. So I could make a collection of Perry's Four Horsemen stories and have like a novel length work of stories that I've written in their universe so that I'm reprinting. So they probably didn't consider that part, but it's allowable technically. You just need to look at the contract.
Oh, yeah. Well, what are you going to do? I've never seen a smile like that before. Oh, that's so bad. Yes, Mixon is in the On Deadly Ground anthology, which has a lot of other great stories in it. You should check that out if you're not familiar. I believe Veronica also narrated the audiobook. I think maybe. What do you guys think of combining stories into universes, multiverses? Do you guys use mainly the same setting with different era settings for your stories? That is a long question.
They have to be, the stories would have to actually be connected in order to go ahead and get those stories combined and make it work in the same universe setting.
This is difficult.
You got to have the theme running through it. They don't have to be all interconnected personally, but they have to have enough similarity of theme to where they could be in the same metaverse, same universe, same whatever.
Tim, are you talking about in the same collection, or are you talking about like series or books in different areas? Okay. Marine and Empire Bones. Okay. Yeah. All right. Because Imperial Marines is a precursor, a prequel, essentially, to Empire Bones.
It's in the same universe, same technology, same shared past history up to a point.
Right. If you've read / listened to Derelict, you know that I have a certain love for a character named Dr. G, and he's extremely important. And then I have 4 or 5 books I want to write just about him, to explain how the trio came to be and everything that happened that drove what the AIs actually did. So that's in the same universe, totally different setting though, because it's going to take place, between Earth, the Moon, and Mars. Essentially, what I have planned right now. So it's kind of a different animal from that standpoint, but it's very similar in that sense. Cryptonomicon, that is a different animal because that's two different time slices. But yeah, it's the same story. A lot of books are like that. I guess that would count, sort of. But it's kind of all the same story. It's a little bit different. Yeah, for a series. The NFT of horrors. You can't even spell horrors right.
Yeah, but I spelled it right in the next line.
Hopeless. I think that I've got the Soul and Beyond universe, which has not got or doesn't have a specific delineation to it. It doesn't start in a particular timeline. It's going to go in the past before Derelict. It's going to go in the future way after Derelict, but it's all the Soul and Beyond universe. So all the stories have got the same, share the same tech to a certain degree, and share some of the same universe things, even though they may look different in Derelict than they do in the G stories or anything else I write, because all that stuff hasn't happened. It's like 100 years before Derelict. So I don't see a problem with that if you're going to do it that way. That's actually a pretty good ways to do it. Yes, does Cryptonomicon tie into the Baroque cycle? I thought the Baroque cycle was the other 3 books. Oh, direct descendants. Okay.
One of the things that while you were talking about that, I was thinking about stories. I can't remember what you said that tied me into this particular story idea about how things were tying together. I imagined a time travel story where somebody is fighting against a villain trying to stop them from doing something terrible. And as the story progresses, say a series of novels, as they progress, he realizes that he has become the villain and that it's his previous self that he's now fighting. And he's actually been the opponent the entire time along by fighting this thing, that he's changed. Wouldn't that be an incredible story to write?
Somebody needs to be medicated.
I would never have the balls to write that kind of story.
I don't think I have any interest in doing that. Tim says he used to build lots of non-connected settings universes, but then gradually combining them into larger shared settings.
Well, I know that, oh gosh. Who is it that I've now forgotten his name? Sigler. Mm-hmm. Sigler, you, when we interviewed him the one time, I had found out that all of his stuff, all of his universes, all of his stories take place in the same universe.
That is correct.
So that's a real stretch for some of those stories, and you can't really imagine, well, how the hell did that happen?
If you read them, you figure it out. I like that idea. The reason why that's a cool idea is because it allows you to give callbacks to other books. Like Stephen King is the master of this shit. There's somebody out there has an actual goddamn Venn diagram of all of King's books and how they're all related. It is terrifying, but it's the same kind of thing. You can make callbacks. Those callbacks are good for two reasons. It will make your existing readership go, oh, now I see how that connects, or something along those lines. And for newer readers, it might give them a chance to say, well, I wonder what that's about. What book is that in? And then it can also, get them to go buy previous books. So I think it's actually pretty good way of doing things. But I think it's also a little bit dangerous, because you have to remember, if you're going to try and put everything in the same settings, you have to follow rules. And you're going to have to kind of start those out, at the beginning. Like the Tony Downs series, that stuff, all those books, Garrett's Inferno, Closet Treats, those are completely separate from The Black and Derelict. Completely separate. They don't exist in the same universe at all, and they never will. I shouldn't say never, but
have you ever thought about having somebody make, traverse your various story universes, just, passing through?
Oh, you mean like a character?
Yeah, one character goes through one universe, just passes through a story, and then he passes through another story in a totally different universe, and you're like, where did he come from? How did he get there?
No, not at all. Not at all. Not at all. The Fiends universe, the Garage universe, and the Tony Downs universe, those are the same. But the Black, Derelict, and etc. are completely out of that.
Well, in all of my universes, whether connected or not, I think I've killed J.R. Handley in all of them. If not, I should certainly try harder.
You, J.R. Handley, me, Thomas Reed. I mean, I just, every time, I just can't help myself. It's just, every story, just got to kill Thomas Reed. What do you mean, no? Even killed the same guy in every book? Yes. We have no problem killing the same guy. That's different.
Sometimes we kill them twice in the same book.
Sometimes they're only corpses, and we never actually meet them or see them. We just hear about what happened to the body.
Sometimes a space toilet falls on them in a brothel.
Why?
Never mind. I didn't write that story. I have no idea. I can only say that JR didn't make it out of the brothel, and he didn't get lucky either.
The toilet did.
Maybe, what the last thing that went through his brain was? Well, shit.
Oh, damn. Story about the time-traveling, self-fighting dude would work with a koi shoot. What? Fuck, I don't even know what this is.
Ketsu.
Evidently, I'm not up on my Japanese literature tropes.
Taishoten Ketsu. I don't know exactly what that is.
Sun tight. Plenty of umbrellas on the wall. Dude, what are you smoking? Suddenly, I'm curious. Send me a private message. I want to know where to get that stuff.
Oh, he's gonna post a link right here. Just watch. It's gonna happen.
Oh, well, 4-act structure. Okay. Terry, do you plan acts? Are you even aware of what that is?
Yes, I am aware of what they are, and I'm aware of how they fit into the novels that I'm writing, and they roughly correspond with my beginning, middle, and end.
Are you a 3-act?
Do I plan them out ahead of time? I do not.
Are you a 3?
Sometimes they're nebulous. Sometimes they're more firm but they're pretty much there all the time.
Would you consider yourself a 3-act guy or a 5-act guy?
3.
I think most of mine are 3 as well. And it's not because I intend it that way. It's just the way that it happens. But I'm pretty sure I have some 5 acts in my. I mean, Derelict, I guess, is a 5 act.
Well, you know why you default to the 3 act, don't you?
Yeah, beginning, middle, and end.
It's because most of the narrative stories that you've been told in your life follow the 3 act structure. So in your hindbrain, that's where your storytelling defaults to the same method of telling stories as you've heard them.
Except for those of us who study playwriting.
Well, that's modifying literature. What you learned as a child. Yeah. I'm not saying that that it's wrong, but that's an addition and modification to the learned storytelling that you picked up before you took it.
Right. Somebody was asking earlier about what Shadow's doing. He's currently walking across the desk, which is why the camera's shaking. Recontextualizing twist is the climax of the story. Learning that you're fighting yourself is the climax. Okay, all right. I gotcha. When your main tool is a hammer, every problem looks like a nail. That's true. 3-act is, I think, definitely the easiest. 5-act is much more complex, and I don't strive to write any kind of acts. It just happens. So I have no idea. I haven't been interested in studying my own work to see what the hell that is all about, and if I've ever, branched out into 5 or 4 or whatever. 3 is the easiest, especially considering Western. I would say Western storytelling. I don't necessarily think that has anything to do with other cultures, but I could be wrong on that. I haven't done enough comparative literature in the last 30 years to know. Okay, my desk is shaking. Your camera's moving. Life is great. If I try to do that, things are going to go badly.
She wants attention.
Doesn't require or rely on conflict. It relies on discovery, revelation of the reader. Fantastic for mystery and horror stories. Huh. Interesting. The real monsters was humans the whole time. Okay, thank you for that Simpsons episode. Will you stop it? See? There. See that? There's a shadow cat. He's very unhappy.
He's like, what the hell just happened? What the hell
now he's happened? Even more unhappy.
What the hell just happened?
Oh, here come the spammers. Fuck off. Okay, there we go. The camera shake is making me feel seasick. I'm sorry. I booted him off the desk, although I can't guarantee he won't be back.
Well, he'll have to come back under a different name since you blocked him.
Oh, it's a bot. I'm sure it's a bot. More than likely, it's a bot. This is interesting. Now I want to go back and look at. Now I want to go back and look at some Japanese story structures. That's fascinating. Real monsters were the friends we made along the way. Yeah, that is
the real monsters were your drinking buddies.
Yeah, that's actually a good story when you have a character who realizes that maybe he's not with the good guys, so to speak, if we're going to use that term. Not on the side of moral or ethical good, if you will. That's a good story.
Expediency is a slippery slope, and it's fun when you realize you're halfway down that slope after making the choices you felt you had no choice to make.
That's a good way of putting it. Although, as characters are kind of fond of saying, you always have a choice. You always have a choice. You may not feel like you have one, but you always have a choice. Do you really?
Some situations you put them in, you may have choices, but it's all the selection from the bottom of the barrel.
They all suck. You have to choose the one that sucks the least. You have to choose what sucks the least. I was aware that my drinking buddies were monsters all the way and went back. That's another good possibility too. I'm sorry, I'm a horror writer, so when I hear a door squeak behind me, it kind of freaks me out a little bit. Shadow just decided to step out.
Shadow says, we're done here.
We
are done here.
Well, yeah, he's mad because I booted him out off the desk. He's ticked about that.
He's mad because you picked him up and held him for the camera. That's why he's mad.
Well, and that was to get him off the desk, so people wouldn't get seasick. There you go. Character's least sucky choice can mean the character's demise. That is correct. That can feel less like a real choice. Well, think about it, though. We have all these movies and stories where the hero has a choice where they can either die in order to save everybody, or they can live and save themselves and maybe a couple other people, but others are going to die or something other horrible is going to happen. That is the common hero trope, right? That is the thing where you have a character who has to choose between their own life and the lives of others. It's another common story that's been told time out of mind since forever. And in fact, a lot of cultures, most cultures, in fact, as far as I know anyway, they elevate those kind of people. Those are the people you call quote unquote hero. Although I would take issue with that because I think it's just like bravery, right? You call people brave, but really most of the time they're scared shitless. They just happen to be willing to go forward and do what needs to be done to make it happen. And that's what makes you brave, not because you don't recognize or care about the danger that you or others are in. It's the fact that despite that, you went ahead and did what you needed to do.
I think a fun story would be where the character does something. I mean, does this a lot during the novel, does something, and immediately after it realizes it was not the right thing to do. It's sort of like the Harry Potter movies and Hagrid. Oh, shouldn't have said that.
Shouldn't have said that. Shouldn't have said that. Yeah. Like that. That would be part of it. I mean, imagine if you've got a space captain or a dictator or whatever else, and they're just kind of shooting from the hip, and then like 5 minutes later, after the nukes go off in the distance, that they fucked up everything. I'm like, why did I do that? Why did I do that?
Oh, we totally need to have that as a character in something there, where there's a big exchange between him and the bad guy and whatnot. And then 5 minutes later in the fight, then he says something. And it's just totally out of the whack of what's going on. And he's like, that's what I should have said to him. That's what I should have said to him. Damn it.
Those are good too. 12 hours later, I had the perfect comeback. I'm witty. It just takes me a while. Describing and marrying a character in Twisted God series. Yeah, total fuck ups are fun. If you think about it, Harry himself is a total fuck up. He's really not that good of a wizard.
He's just indecisive.
That too. But I mean, you could even go back to Tolkien for that, right? You've got the characters there who are indecisive as well, which is the right decision in several instances.
Imagine Harry Potter where the hero that has to actually accomplish all the things is Hermione, and she would get some shit done. There would only be 3 books in that series.
I would say if you look at the series, she is the reason shit gets done. She is
pretty much the driving factor in why things get done.
She's the best wizard in the entire school. There's no doubt about that. It's just,
and she's the one that acts. Oh, something needs to happen. Hermione's going to do something, and it's probably going to hurt you a whole bunch.
Probably. She makes good decisions and makes them very snap.
Harry Dresden is not indecisive. He's impulsive.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Impulsive. Yes.
It's totally different. He sometimes does things and it's not the right thing.
The building was on fire and it's not my fault.
Well, you remember how the author goes ahead and describes the different answers to plot complications, right?
Oh, God. All right. Go for it.
It is, you've got something you've got to get solved. The potential things are no, yes, but yes and more so. And Harry Dresden is yes and more so.
Yes, and more so.
Something like that.
Yeah, every time he thinks it's going to solve a problem, he just makes it worse.
He just dials it up to 11 and sets the building on fire.
Yeah, or it's the lesson of unforeseen consequences. Oh my God, he's back. And now he's headbutting me. The rules of unforeseen consequences.
Yes, but no, and furthermore.
Yes.
Yeah, pretty much that. I didn't remember the details, but that's it.
Tim, I would say he's a screw up the entire series. Just different levels of screwing up.
Harry Dresden?
Yeah.
I don't know that he's a screw up. He just isn't real good sometimes about thinking long-term consequences.
I would call that screwing up, considering some of the consequences he's dealing with. But that's just me. Characters should not. A character who makes all the right decisions is a boring character. A very boring character. Probably a lot of people don't like this movie, but I do. World War Z. The main character, okay. Brad Pitt's character, fucks up all the time in that movie. He gets people killed, literally. And but he's the hero, so to speak. And he makes just terrible decisions in a lot of cases, and he makes snap decisions that don't work out well.
Kitty says, "Here is."
Yes, and now he's scratching at the other screen, dude. I may have to boot this cat out of my house, please.
Well, Tim, you may have only gotten through 8 books. I'm still 2 books behind where the series is right now, because I made the mistake of trying to listen to the audiobook. So now I need to go back and actually read it.
I'm a lot more behind than that. A lot more behind than that. Fuck ups are their own kryptonite. Yes. Fuck ups are necessary. People fuck up. Period. End of story. We make stupid mistakes. We trip. We trip and fall because we weren't looking. We thought we saw the problem, but we only saw it's like the iceberg. You only saw the tip of the problem, didn't realize what was causing the problem. So you're trying to solve something, a symptom that really won't help, solve the problem. And that's part of what makes characters self-aware, makes them interesting, I think, is the way they interpret the situations around them, how they act in those scenarios, and how they kill cats.
I totally need to go ahead and make sure that, I'm following up just like Paul is. Let's see if I can do this here. How's this, Paul? Does
that look like a black tentacle?
No, I'm shaking my camera so it looks like it's moving around. So my
2 abs of a whole idiot. That's a good line. That's a good line. Very good line. Suicide Squad. Talk about the comics. I haven't seen the movies, but think about those people. They're a complete freaking disaster area, not because they are not just because their moral compasses are defective, but they are the most impulsive people and make really interesting decisions. The Blair Witch Robot Society. No.
In
Shadow?
In the most recent Suicide Squad movie, they had the wrestler playing a character that was not a villain, not a hero, and just totally weird, totally odd. And now he has his own series, and I'm like, I'm not sure I want to see this.
Is that the Peacemaker series?
Yes, Peacemaker. Okay. He's weird.
Is that part of the whole point, though?
It is. Have you seen pictures of Cena, John Cena, in that particular costume?
No. No, I have. It
is a strange costume. While we're talking, I'll find a picture of him because his costume pretty much says it all for him.
You couldn't blow your brains out with a powder keg. Dad used to call people an ass half. It would take 2 of them to make an ass whole. I like that one. I may have to use that tonight. Since I'll be seeing my boys later. Oh my God.
The link I just posted there. What happened?
Nothing good. A cat slipped and went flying off the desk. Okay, I have to tell you about something. I have to tell you a little story, a little side here. I have this notebook, okay? I have notes in it. I sketched out an entire scene for myself so I knew where everything was. I had it all together and did that at dinner. Came into my office, put the notebook down. And the moment I put the notebook down and was starting to look at it, Shadow jumps on top of the notebook. Okay, it just sits there. So I try and move him, and then he discovers a pencil on the desk. So then for the next 5 minutes, we had this thing where he's chasing the pencil, got wrapped up in the cords, knocked the notebook off, and then tried to go sit on it again, but came back up to chase the pens and the cords. This is the kind of days I have with this cat. That's my writing companion. My writer familiar needs. Oh. Anyway.
I posted a link. If you look at the image at the top, it shows what John Cena's character looks like.
Okay. The podcast is under attack. Shazam cable rejection. Oh, God. I am so far out of the MCU. I got nothing. I don't know what the hell you people are doing anymore, talking about MCU, DCU. I know nothing about it anymore.
Well, that's actually DC, not.
That's why I said
Marvel.
DCU. It's all the comic book crap. I'm just completely out of there. Sent to keep me from writing this one? Yeah, maybe. Oh, yes, he is an appropriate Patronus for V. He fits my chaotic personality just fine. And don't get me wrong, I love the little shit. He's usually good, but today he's being interesting.
It's because you keep talking, Dad. He's going to help. You obviously are talking to him.
Usually he doesn't bother me too much when I'm recording, but today he's got issues. I don't know what his issue is. Anyway, that's beside the point. Okay, we've covered titles. We've covered, what else have we covered?
A lot of things.
A lot of different things. What were we talking about? There was something else we were going to talk about on the show.
It's out of my head now. If it's not written down, it never happened.
I believe we were going to talk about blurbs.
Okay, we could talk about blurbs.
Blurbs and titles.
We already talked about titles.
I know. I'm just saying those are probably the least two enjoyable things a writer can deal with. Although I guess titles, for me, not a problem. Blurbs suck. Matt Wallace once said that the person least capable of writing a good blurb is the writer who wrote the book.
In many cases, this is true.
And I think it's actually very appropriate.
Sales copywriting is totally different than writing fiction.
I think it's more than that. I think it's also the fact that you have to divorce yourself from trying to put in all the details to explain what the fuck is going on.
Yeah, that's a big part of it. You've got to take, that's what's called the author problem. You've got to take the author problem out of writing your sales blurb, because you don't need to be, if you're telling them this happened, then this happened, then this happened, you failed. That is not a blurb. You failed.
Agreed.
There's a book that Dean Wesley Smith puts out called Writing Sales Copy, I think it is. And I took one of his pop-up courses with that. And we also, when I went to a live in-person workshop, he had people write up sales copy for a pitch for a blurb. And he brought us in one at a time and then dissected it for us.
Mm.
Yeah, that was painful. It's painful when he goes, you want to go back out and come back in later?
The blurb is what you get on the back of the book or inside the slip cover of a hardcover. It tells you, basically gives you an overview of what the book's about.
When you go to Amazon and it says, you look at the little description of the book to see what the plot is, that's what it is. That's what we're calling a blurb.
It's essentially synopsis, but it's the marketing synopsis. So you have to drop as much superfluous detail as possible.
No, well,
I said superfluous.
You need to pick and choose what you need to pick and choose. It's a marketing hook. So you need to have just enough detail to snag them with what it is and still tell them what kind of story it is without dropping all the details.
Right. So with Terry, with Empire of Bones, like first book, military, space adventure, all that stuff is kind of included in the blurb, as well as the kind of gist of the series and flavor of it.
Wow, I'd have to look to see if it actually is.
I'm going to lie to them.
So.
I'm going to lie to them and say that you did that and it works. Okay, I'm going to lie. I'm going to lie. You sell more books than I do, so I have to give you some props.
It must have worked okay because the book took off.
Exactly. So you have to include, like, it, you know, depending on what the genre is, I would say the recipe is, number one, go look at what other books in the genre are doing with their blurbs. Especially if you find something that's kind of similar to what you're doing. Maybe it's got space battles or whatever it is that you're writing. Even a horror story. If it's got a monster story, you might want to go look at somebody who's writing those kinds of things, who's not me, and go look at the blurbs and see the kind of details they put in there, and whether or not it makes you want to read the book. I can't remember the synopsis for It by Stephen King, but it was definitely something that struck me. The same thing with The Gunslinger. You've got a dude who does not belong in the apocalyptic wasteland that he is. It's very, very interesting. Kind of have to work on getting the details that are going to bring those folks in there. Like Veronica says, your blurb has to convince a total stranger who is not a raving fan to read your work. And therefore, you got to hit the high points. You got AIs in your book, and they're an important piece. You probably should mention that. You got space battles, or they're in space. You should probably mention that. Those things sometimes are more important than the covers. For ebooks, they certainly can be, because ebook covers are so damn small usually. It can be kind of hard to see, but that's a completely different animal. I would say the recipe is you have to include enough details, get an overall feel for what the story is going to be like, to try and maybe hit some things that the reader is going to associate with. When I wrote the Black blurb, I had Jake Bible look at it, because he's very, very successful at doing monster stories and everything else. And the guy's a badass at blurbs and such. And so we worked that out. And he, I told him that I was thinking about, referencing the thing in the Blob. And he was like, yes, yes, yes. So that's what I did in the last lines of the book and the blurb is to make sure it doesn't call back to those movies, because people who like those movies might like the Black. But that's how you include that stuff in there. With Derelict, for instance, like the keywords, I'm going to put BSG in there. Be stupid not to, because there's an element of that kind of stuff in there. But the blurb has to somehow characterize the story and get somebody interested in it. Include only the details you absolutely positively have to have. And they suck.
And it has to be an active voice. You cannot use passive voice.
Don't do it.
And it's so hard to wean out the passive voice.
What are your thoughts on using present tense versus past tense in a blurb?
It almost has to be present tense.
I agree with that. With series, like any series, if I'm trying to give if the book that I'm writing now that I'm trying to sell depends on another book, if the actions that take place on there depend on the other book, then I'll probably give a one-word sentence about what happened in that book to drive this one. That's kind of important too, because you want to get people to read the next book in the series, especially if you want to build on top of it. So I think those are also important facets to keep in mind of, the kinds of things you want to include. Blurbs suck. Go look at how other people do them, and go look at your favorite authors and see how they're doing their blurbs. Rip off as much as you can. That's my advice. Terry, on the other hand, has no advice because he's busy searching Google.
Truth, because I'm about to post another link that would be helpful for the folks there. I posted a link to Dean Wesley Smith's book on fiction sales writing. And here is a YouTube video called 5 Guys in a Limo. It's an old video. And it's 5 big name voice actors traveling in a limo, all talking in active voice.
Dramatically, no less.
Dramatically active voice. So yes.
It all sounds like a movie trailer. Just the whole goddamn thing is one long movie trailer for a movie that doesn't exist.
Truth. So
William.
It's a great example of saying, okay, how do I have to phrase kinds of things to make it sound like it? You don't need to sound over the top like these guys, but there is a place for in a world.
In a world, God. You talk about the most overused phrase. In a world.
In a world where Paul E. Cooley is king, there exists a man who must save the world.
Yeah, there should be somebody who should save the world if I'm in charge. Dr. Cooley stares into the most unusual maw of his life as a dentist. Near perfect teeth, brushed, flossed, immaculate. Yeah, that definitely goes for the dentata story.
But doctor, those aren't the teeth I'm here to get fixed.
Right. Matt says musicians have to do the same thing as showcase, which is what you get the next 6 months booking, is 3 songs that you have to show your entire range, but you're playing to a room. Yeah, that's true too. If you're trying to get a gig at a bar or something like that, you usually have to do a little bit of a presentation of your skills if you're not known. It goes without saying. Books are the same way. You got to basically get people to let them know what you're writing about and give them a flavor of maybe who you are.
The way that you sell books, if you don't already have an audience, is Amazon or some other place is going to pretty much show them your cover at some point. Your cover has to be enough to make them click on it, and the title as well to make them sound enough interested to look at the blurb. And if they like the blurb, they might buy it, or they might not. They might put it on a list to maybe think about later. But the title and the cover are going when it snags the level 1 attention. Then the blurb is your chance to seal the deal.
Right. Those are the facets of selling books, folks. Whether you like it or not, that's pretty much how it works. If you do YouTube trailers or anything like that, it has to kind of be the same thing. You want to give as little information as you can get away with, but also make it so that it gives a flavor of what the book is. Look, I don't know what's going on in your house. I got rid of my problem. Actually, I didn't get rid of my problem. He's using his heating pad, as in my Mac Mini. Your demo is also the chapter information, the free chapter or whatever that you give to people.
Does anyone read the free chapter? I did free chapters at the beginning of writing the books, and then I took them out because nobody's reading them. Nobody cares.
I disagree.
By all means, go ahead.
Well, okay, so you always get a free sample with the Amazon with the ebooks, right?
Yes, 10%.
Always get that very free sample. This goes back to pacing, though, I guess, in a way. Knowing that you're going to be able to get those people, like I know folks who will, when they go look at a bookstore, I know the idea of going to a bookstore is kind of, out there, but when they go to a bookstore, the first thing they do if they're interested in a book is they go read the last page.
That's bullshit right there.
I think it's bullshit too, but that's what they do. I know some people will go read the goddamn epilogue if there is one before they start the book.
I can't imagine.
I can't imagine trying to pick up the context, but at the same time, it sort of kind of makes sense.
When I go to a bookstore, back when I actually used to go to bookstores.
Back when bookstores existed before they just were fucking Starbucks.
Yeah, pretty much. I would walk down the aisle. I'd look at the titles and the covers. If something snagged my attention, I'd read the back of it. And I almost never actually cracked open the book to look at the first page. Almost never.
Why? Why would you say that?
Nope, I clicked the button.
Sorry, I hit the wrong one.
I was trying to kill the spammer, and you got him first.
Yeah, that's what happens. Epilogue first. Oh hell no. I know people who do that. I also know people who will flip to the middle of the book because they want to see what the writing looks like, and they want to see what the that's not in the first chapter, because we all know first chapters are tough. They not necessarily give you an idea of what the story is going to be like, or the actual writing and the way the characters talk, depending on what it is. So I know people who do that. They'll go read just flip to the middle of the book and go read a few sentences, or a few paragraphs rather, just to see the writer's style once it's further in the book. It's just one of those things. It just depends on what people, how they do things. But I read the free samples quite often to see if the writing and the style is something I want to spend money on.
It's tough with book one. Once you've sold someone into reading one of your books, book two is much easier. There's a thing called read through that, if you're actually tracking page reads and or book reads and purchases, you'll discover that there's a drop off between the number of people that buy or read book one and the ones that read book two. I don't remember now what mine was, but from book two onward, it was in excess of 90%. So if I hooked you in book one, odds were very good that I was going to keep you going later on into the series. You don't always hook people with the first book, but if you do hook them, the advice, the best advertising you can do for your next book, or for your current book, is to write the next book, is always good advice.
Yeah, that didn't work so well for me with Derelict or The Black.
Sorry.
The Black had diminishing returns after the first book, and Derelict had a humongous drop off after the first book. But we know
so
why that
you
is.
Didn't have the read through after people read the first book?
No. You got to remember, I also didn't get page reads worth a fuck. Unless my
I'm not talking just page reads. You can see it in sales too. The same is true in the number of sales.
Terry, I don't get to see that information. I get that information 3 months after the fact. Oh, actually 6 months after the fact.
The publisher.
I'm not going to comment on that. I'm simply going to say that there's no guarantee if you don't do the other work. And of course, I'm an asshole because of the way I wrote Derelict, and that was part of its problem anyway. But you should not have a humongous drop off unless you completely drop the ball in the first book. But
sometimes you can see. I've heard of other people talking about this. I haven't experienced it myself, where you've got a big drop off after a later book in a series, and that's where you did something wrong.
Yeah, that's where you jumped the shark.
That's where you did something wrong.
You read the blurb in the first page to determine whether or not you buy it or not. Yeah, because you want to see the writer's style is something you can tolerate. I mean, what about Terry? Terry's going to open the book and see if it's in present tense or second person. If it's either of those, he's going to throw it away.
I have read, there is at least one series that I read that it's in present tense. I'm not a fan of present tense, but there are occasions where I'll have to make an exception. Something that Matt is bringing up here with the audio samples are important because you may find vocals that you can't listen to. And this is totally true, because I can think of at least one book where I bought the book based on the story and how I thought it would be really cool, and the narrator's voice drove me absolutely fucking crazy.
Or the quality was so terrible because of the way it was mixed or produced or whatever else.
Or because the morons put music and sound effects in.
Hey!
Not that I'm pointing fingers at Sound Booth Theater or anything. I'm not a fan of that type of behavior.
I don't really.
That detracts from an audio story when they do that, because it feels wrong. When you're trying to read, when there's a narrator reading what's going on in the background, the music going, dong, 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 dong. I'm like,
that's
no,
different.
Please stop. I can't think of the words. I can't hear the narrator. Stop it.
Yeah, that kind of annoys me with audiobooks too. I don't want that constant underlying music. Although I did do it in the Black whenever we got the underwater stuff, because it just worked. It was good for the podcast. Can't remember if that's in the audiobook version on Amazon or not. But I keep doing that with all my stuff. I keep using special effects for voices and things like that. And some people are going to hate it. Audible people are just fucking assholes. They are definitely snobs. I will leave it at that.
What?
Snobby motherfuckers. Snobby motherfuckers. What? There is a less is more, though. There is a less that less is more. typical read through from book 1 to book 2 is like 50 to 60%. Yeah, I think the Black did better than that. I think it was more like 70%, and then with Revival, I think is when it dropped off to 50, somewhere in there. And then Outbreak was even worse, which is unfortunate because I think that's a really damn good book. Anyway, The Last Derelict audiobook. Okay, have fun with that, Dean. Have fun with Trident. Yeah, well done ambient sound. If you do it badly, it's an issue. And it's just the less is more thing. If you're doing something to detract from the narration, then it's a problem. Because people are there for the damn story. They're not there for the special effects and sounds. What was it? The Leviathan Chronicles? Is that what it was called? I think it was a podcast. They did the full sound production, music, sound effects, Foley stuff, multiple characters, all this ambient stuff. It was really cool. However, it made it difficult to follow some of the conversations. And it did kind of distract me from what was going on because my ears were too busy focusing on these other pieces, which were cool, but which is not a problem. It just kind of detracted for me. Yeah, it was an audio drama. Leviathan Chronicles. Okay, I got it right. That's definitely something you should check out if you're not familiar with it. Go take a gander at it. It's good stuff. Is it Christoph Laputka? I think. I can't remember the names. It's been a long time. That's another interesting part of things, Terry. The audio drama thing is starting to pick up because the New York Times or New York publishing houses have decided that audio drama is a thing. So now it's a thing. Never mind the fact we've been podcasting audio dramas for, like 15 years, but now they're pretending it's like a new thing, which I can't even begin to tell you how much that pisses me off. You wish the writing had been as good as the production in that one. No comment. No comment.
I'm looking through in my report now for The Empire of Bones, and the read through from book 1 to book 2 was almost 95%. And it ranges from there for books going on anywhere from the high 90s to one of them dropped down to 76%. So obviously I did something that people did. In fact, it's the Terra Gambit. And I know that's one where I screwed up. So I'm not surprised that I lost folks in that one. And then it's still high 70s, mid 80s, 90s after that.
Yeah. Fuck you, Terry.
Mm.
Yeah. Anyway, you're going to have some drop off regardless.
When you've got a long series, you have the chance to even pick up people that drop off because they may go, I didn't particularly like this book. And then they go, well, there's 6 other books in the series. Maybe I'll read through and see if it, gets better.
That may also have to do with the blurb, though.
Well, I know what the problem with the Terra Gambit was. I ended the book in a place that was not a good place to end the book.
You described my entire
the book
career.
The book was going to be twice as long.
Oh, that's right. You broke that one up. That's right.
I broke it up. Right. So I'm not surprised that is the place where I'm losing people. I've learned things as a writer that I should not have done that. Yep, here it is. It's done. So I got to deal with it.
You can't really undo it unless you're going to go back and make the omnibus and turn that into one book, or reprint it as one book, which you could do, but you won't.
I won't. I don't believe in revisiting the mistakes that I've made in the past. I'll just write a new book.
That's actually a good way to do it, I think. It's a very good way to do it. I don't know. He's definitely the better example or information to get from the sales stuff because I'm hybrid and I'm weird and nobody reads my independent published stuff for whatever reason. Yeah, it's already as a bundle. Yeah, Terry's got bundles out there. Several omnibuses. If you're not familiar with Empire of Bones,
I am a month and a half behind getting the next set of bundles and omnibuses out there because, hang on, watch your gestures there, pal. This is a family podcast.
Since fucking when?
My wife did not get the covers done. She hasn't been feeling well, so I have the covers. Now I actually need to take the time to build the ebooks because I can't send an audiobook contract for something that doesn't actually exist as an ebook.
That might be an issue. That
Mhm.
might be an issue. Maybe, just maybe. All these ins and outs of the writing, the marketing, the publishing, all this shit is all kind of put together. And that's why you kind of have to make a decision. Are you going to just create, or are you going to be creating and running a business at the same time? And if you're going to be running the business, then there's other things you have to do. So
if you intend to make money as a writer,
yeah,
you're going to have to learn how to do business too.
Yeah, I don't do that well.
It's a sad state of affairs, yet here you are.
Yet here you are. And I think you have to kind of find your niche and what you want to do. Definitely looking at stuff like Dean Wesley Smith has got out there, Christine Catherine Rush, talking to bozos like Terry. That's where you're going to learn how to do some of those things if you're not innately good at it. Like Jake Bible never missed a beat. He hit the ground running completely. He had all of his shit together, regardless of how bad his mic was in the podcast. When the books came out with his own stuff and was severed, all that stuff was wired tight, and it works really well for him. Really well for him.
Tony says marketing is the worst. I'm a sandwich board guy myself.
What am I doing? If you're a sandwich board, what the fuck am I doing?
You know what the really sad thing is? You know what my marketing is? Make a guess.
Facebook ads?
No. I sent out a note to my newsletter. Hey, I published a book. I should be doing Facebook ads. I should be doing Amazon ads. Weirdly, I'm having the success I'm having without doing ads, which tells me that if I was doing ads, I would have much bigger levels of success, which would be nice. So I'll eventually get around to it.
My marketing so far has been the podcast. Has been YouTube, has been things like that. And of course, winning Parsec Awards doesn't hurt. But that's been the primary things that I do. I don't really have any money to spend on the other marketing bullshit at this point in time, especially now. But the people who are going to find me, hopefully, are going to support because of both the podcast and the books. As long as I make the money, I can keep recording, keep producing, and keep doing what I do.
I've purchased Mark Dawson's Ads for Authors course. So I've got plenty of things to listen to learn from somebody that has paid tons and tons of money to get the experience on doing this. What I've picked up out of it so far, which I am way, way behind. I had Amazon ads way in the past, but I stopped them because I just kept them out there without changing them. They weren't performing. I was just spending money for no purpose. And I wanted to go ahead and finish the Ads for Authors course and then put something up that was relevant. Yeah, I still haven't finished that course. So obviously that's what I need to do.
Even when you're a programmer for hire, you were shit at finding gigs. Yes, that was me. That is me. That has a lot to do with also social anxiety and other things. So there's a lot of stuff.
You see Facebook ads go by for books and for whatnot. Amazon is much more in your face. You get the sponsored stuff that when you're looking at books, it says also reads, also boughts,
right,
and other things, the sponsored ads that you can get there. So there's different ways about doing with it. I think that what I would end up using Facebook more for is trying to get people that are similar to my current newsletter list to join my newsletter list, because the newsletter list is gold. It is a huge thing. Getting in early with getting a newsletter and building it up to where I've got 6,000 people that are on the newsletter. It means that I get some decent action on release day, and that helps put me in the Amazon algorithms, and that helps me have some success. Nikki says, I'm terrified of people stealing my stuff, and that she can't even talk about it until it's out in the wild. I would have to go ahead and give you this piece of advice, and it's one that I've given before. Paul knows what I'm talking about. Go ahead, Paul. Tell us the advice. You already know what it is.
Don't worry about it.
There's a specific phrase. Do you know the phrase?
Worry about it. No. What is your phrase?
We don't need to worry. Our biggest enemy isn't theft. It's nobody knowing who we are in the first place.
Yes. Theft is not a problem because anybody who grabs the plot is not going to write your story. Anybody who grabs the idea is not going to write your story. The black is very, very much the thing. Very much the thing. But it doesn't matter. It's mine. You know?
When you write a story, it has your voice in it. And somebody may take the plot points out of what you're going to do, but they're not going to tell your story.
Yeah.
I could take and try to write a story that follows all the main plot points of something that Paul wrote, and it would not be the same thing. It would sound totally different. It would be totally different. What was the word? Ignominy? That we have to worry where no one knows our name?
Anonymity.
That's not it. That's where we intentionally hide our name. I'll have to look up. It's Cory Doctorow is the one. Matt said it. Cory Doctorow is the one that said it before. I have to look up the exact saying, but I've known other people that felt the same way you do, that, you're paranoid about anybody taking your work. And my advice to you is that's not something you really should be worried about. Nobody's going to take your stuff and suddenly write your story better. It's just not going to happen, because if you're not like somebody that writes a big name thing right now, then nobody's going to see it in the beginning. Not until you're at the point to where you've gotten past that fear. So don't worry about what people are going to steal. Worry about what you're producing. I have people all the time talk about, oh, this pirate site has your book. Oh, this pirate site has your book. Pirate sites are always going to have your book.
Yes.
Cory Doctorow looks at it as free advertising. The people that would steal your stuff would never have bought it in the first place.
That is absolutely fucking correct. That is absolutely fucking correct. One of the reasons why people like me, dummies like me, podcasts our work is because we're trying to get away from the anonymity. I'm giving that shit away for free. Okay, it's out there. It's free. People are going to listen to it. They're going, or they're not going to listen to it. Bottom line is, it does a better job at bringing them into buying my books and knowing who I am than anything else, because that's kind of what I'm known for, and that's what's going to drag people in. But that work is out there. It's free. I mean, obviously, I've got Creative Commons all over it, but the bottom line is, people are getting the story for free. That part doesn't hurt me. The
problem isn't piracy. The problem is obscurity.
There we go.
So that's what Cory Doctorow said. And I've heard it said by a bunch of different people in different ways. And I wholeheartedly believe that. Doctorow put out some of his stuff, I think, for free. And the paid sales of his work went up instead of down.
Little Brother was awesome. Little Brother was great.
Free advertising.
It's tough because, I mean, even Neil Gaiman was like, they're stealing your book. It's like, no, they're not stealing my book. They're reading my book. As long as they're not selling my book, and that's kind of a different animal. But that's something that would tick me off, and that has also happened to several other people with some of these shady shitheads that start their storefronts. But
one of the original co-hosts of this show, his name was Ryan, and he did not want to share any of the story ideas of things that he was working on because he had that same exact fear. He's not a writer anymore. The paranoia and life got in the way of him producing things. I won't say the paranoia got in the way. Life convinced him to go some other direction than writing, but I don't think the paranoia helped.
Yeah, I didn't know Ryan well enough to only talk to him a couple times, so I don't have a good feel for that. I know he's happy being a drummer again, is what I understand. Of course,
he does to be a drummer, but his day job is something other than drumming, because that doesn't pay your bills either.
No, it doesn't pay your drumming. It could. It could. You never know. I mean, after all, writing could pay my bills one day. It is nothing to worry about. It's just something that is in there, and I wouldn't really worry about it. I mean, the thing is, who are you going to be talking to anyway? You're going to be talking to your friends. You're going to be talking to other writers. I mean,
even if it gets out on the web, I mean, it's not going to kill you.
No, it's not going to kill you.
It's not going to kill you.
Somebody pirated the entire Derelict Marines book, audiobook on YouTube. They put it up there for free. It got 200,000 views. Now, there's no way for me to see how many people actually listened to it there, but there were a ton of comments. I finally had to send a notice, a copyright strike notice, because they were violating about 50,000 different licenses of mine. And I could have let it slide, but I chose not to because it's a problem. That was a problem.
Yeah, and I've had the same thing happen and had to send those takedown notices as well.
And, you know,
YouTube is very good about it.
Yeah,
this was years ago.
I love the fact that somebody liked my work enough to put it up there and say, you need to go see this, but they didn't send them back to my site or my YouTube channel or anything else. That pissed me off. Really
one of the great examples of how this could hurt a career, Nikki, is Twilight, Stephanie Meyer. She had one of her books, one of her Twilight books, I think it was book 5 in the series, one of her beta readers leaked the entire novel. And in response, she not only didn't publish that novel, she didn't write in the series for years. Look where she is now. That did not work out in her favor.
Yeah. You just kind of have to roll with it. Sigler and I and dozens of others, we have had to send DCMA notices, DMCA notices, and copyright takedowns and everything else. It happens, and you got to deal with it. But it is not as big a problem as you fear it is.
If you can separate these parts of yourself, there's the creator that you've got on one side. The creator must be protected. The creator is your inner 2-year-old that's writing these stories that says, oh, this is cool. I've got to write this thing. Yeah. The adult in the room is the one that wants to protect the creator. Sometimes that protection actually harms the creative impulses. And while I'm not saying that, piracy is great, somebody stealing your stuff is great, it does happen, and you've got to put it in perspective.
And as we said before, those people who pirated the book, they weren't going to buy it anyway. Hopefully they read it and came back to buy something else. I would be happy as hell if Marines is pirated, because hopefully it brings people to go buy the other books. I'm perfectly okay with that. Book 1's that loss leader, and if people are going to pirate the shit out of that, I'm perfectly okay with it. But it's just something. It's overblown. I understand it. I get it completely. So does Terry. But it's just not something to worry about. It's hard, especially when you have social anxiety and other stuff that goes along with that. It makes it very, very difficult to let go. But you just have to let go. Yeah, doing free gigs. Oh, you're fine.
That's okay.
You're fine, Nikki.
See, you're at the point of the show anyway where we're doing a live show where we ask the viewers to go ahead and ask their questions. So you just jumped in a little early.
Yeah. We're done, pontificating and everything else.
We were done pontificating like 20 minutes ago.
Probably. We should have been done pontificating 20 minutes ago. But since neither one of us could shut up.
So what other questions do you folks have? Come on, fire them up here.
Questions, comments, other insanity? Oh, Lord. Once sent a video of myself playing on stage via mailing list. Biggest ebook boost I could understand that. That is kind of cool. I got mentioned in a tweet yesterday about, I didn't quite get that because I wasn't familiar with it, but supposedly some podcast series just got picked up for a movie. And then my name and Mighty Murr Lafferty's name were mentioned as, you need to pick these people up too. And that was really cool to see that, because it's somebody I didn't even know. It was kind of neat.
Brandon Phillips says, would you say the same thing about droves who downloaded books on free days, that they would not spend even 99 cents for it, that they look for the free stuff? And the answer is yes. When you give away a book on free days, I think I gave away 3,000 copies of Empire of Bones. If 100 people actually read it out of that, I would be totally shocked, because people that collect free books, that's what they're doing. They're collecting free books. They go to these sites. I'm still on the mailing list to get these notifications of books. And I used to be one of the people that collected free books, and I read almost none of them. So free books, honestly, I think is a waste of time. If you're going to discount a book, discount it to 99 cents, because there is a value to someone if they pay money for it. If somebody drops 99 cents on it, they're more inclined to read it because they've invested in it.
Yeah, they actually spent money on it.
Mm-hmm.
Actually spent money on it. That is the difference. That is the difference. I think that does have something to do with the 99 cents in a big way. Mailing list, aside from back of the ebook links, any good places to troll for members?
I put a link in the front of my book and at the back of the book before I put it at the end of like the last chapter before I go even to the next one, because Amazon is pretty good at determining where the end of the book is. If you even have a page break between your mailing list and other stuff, then it's not actually going to show up before the reader goes, "You're done."
Yeah, that's very, very true. That's very, very true.
Those are the only two places that I really do it. But I know of some people that use Facebook to help build their stuff. I have a novella that I created that people can download, and getting it out is going to be what I do on Facebook to try to lure more people into joining my mailing list. And there's going to be a lot of flux of people joining the mailing list and go, "Oh, there's my free book. Out of here. See you, bye."
Yeah, I'm out of here later. And then maybe or maybe not read it. Quite often easier to sell something expensive is to sell something cheap. There is also some truth to that, unfortunately. Oh, question for me. No.
Well, that was a short answer.
Is there any chance of seeing a story about this ship mirror from Derelict? Yes, absolutely there is. I just have to have time and money to write it. But yeah, I have that in mind.
See, Matt was talking about the selling something expensive as opposed to something cheap. I sell my books for $4.99, but I've seen people successfully selling theirs for $5.99, even in some cases $6.99. When you start getting into $7.99, I don't know that I buy into it. I'll drop $4.99 easy. I'll drop $5.99 easy. I'm not sure how much of a difference there is between those two price points, but I discovered when I first started off, I undervalued my work and I was selling it for $3.99.
Yeah.
And when I raised it to $4.99, I noticed almost no change in the sales. So I just made more money. So sometimes you've got to go ahead and put it out at the price that's more than perhaps you think that it's worth.
Yeah, but what do you think about these $12.99 ebooks from the traditional publishers?
I buy very few ebooks from traditional publishers, and often they're $14.99. If it's an author in a series that I care about, which there are a couple, I'll pay that money. Most often, though, it's going to be an Audible credit.
Correct. This is an interesting point. Does that apply to books, though? If I make a beautiful table with a perfect book-matched cathedral figure, the difference between cheap and expensive is much greater than for books. Yeah. Well, but you know what? A more expensive book doesn't have more expensive writing. Words are words. You're really talking about the production value that goes into making the hardcover or the layout or the editing, or just because they're scumfuck publishers. That is where that price difference is going to come in. I mean, there are some books out there that are independently published, only $3.99, $4.99. Beat that. They're much better edited than the shit coming out of Random House. So
don't you talk about Randy Penguin that way?
Fuck them. Fuck them all, actually. Why buy an ebook for $20? Depends. How big of an ebook is it? Is it 700,000 pages?
Well, it depends on the series. If you are invested enough to where you're willing to shell out that for what the writer puts out, maybe it's worth it. I'm not going to tell anybody that they're buying, books from traditional publishers isn't worth it. There are plenty of people that there are a series that I have that I'll go ahead and I'll drop those dollars for that series.
Yeah.
When it comes out.
Okay. Maybe we're getting discussion between paperbacks and ebooks. Okay. Paperbacks, different animal. Paperbacks, definitely a different animal.
Think about this. There are a number of authors that I read from Baen Publishing, David Weber being one of them. When the next Honorverse book comes out, I'm just going to drop the money. That's just the way it is. I'm 40 books in and totally invested in the thing. And, that's the price to pay. You got to pay to play.
40 books in. Oh my God. Oh, I would never have patience to stay with a series that long. Oh my God. Never, ever. Oh my God.
There's a book out on the internet, how to make $250,000 publishing your own book. There's only one copy available, and it's $250,000.
$50,000. Yeah. Yeah, you can spend the $20 on a live tree book. Yeah, I understand. A dead tree book. I understand that.
I totally want to see a live tree book. That would be awesome.
After I said that, I was like, how does that work? Do we count the rings? What are we doing here?
Story idea, live tree book.
I think there may be a dryad.
Excuse me, I've got to go water my library.
Oh, wow. There's a short story for you right there. There's a short story for you right there. You compost the writers and you just grow your book garden.
All the ideas slowly grow out of their corpses.
Exactly. I like that. I like that idea. Oh, God. Horse Heresy series from Black Library is a 52-book series. Oh, my God.
Horse Heresy is, what is it? Warhammer? It's Warhammer, isn't it? 40K? I'm pretty sure. I tried to listen to it and I went, I can't take it, and stopped.
Why couldn't you take it?
I bought the audiobooks as part of a Humble Bundle, and I'm familiar with the setting a little bit. And I tried to read it, and I just didn't think the stories were that well put together. I didn't think it was that well told. I wasn't impressed. Taste is what it is. What I think is not good, somebody else thinks is great, and that's perfectly fine. It's all perception in the reader.
Yeah, I agree with that. Because I had Audible credits and I wanted to support, we're not really friends anymore, but I wanted to check out, see what he was doing. And of course, I wanted to write a whole review series on this, but then shit blew up and I haven't done it. But the Alien novels, written by a number of authors right now, are fantastic. They're really good. Really good future or alternate settings or whatever else. They're very well written. Sigler's is fantastic. Highly recommend it. It'll blow you away. If you're in on the Alien thing at all, you will love them. You absolutely love them. Xenomorphs are badass. Though they're doing that right. And there are several other movie tie-ins and such that I guess are doing it right. But the Alien series is the best one I can come up with.
Nathan, I've got a ton of the Warhammer 40K RPG books that I peruse on occasion going, ooh, that looks like an interesting idea. But then again, I'm a known collector of RPGs that I don't play.
Yes, so you are the guy. Instead of free books, you're paying for RPGs you'll never play.
It's true. It's totally true.
Which I'm sure the RPG makers appreciate, but you definitely have a problem.
I can live with that problem.
Yeah, I know. It's not really a problem as long as you can afford it.
You should see how many Cards Against Humanity cards my wife has.
I've heard. I don't have.
I think she said she had something like 50,000 cards at this particular point.
Yeah, I don't have a closet.
All the various third-party packs. So we all have our little peccadillos. Okay.
Oh God. I collect diseases. I get them for free too. We all have problems. Yes, we do. What the hell was that?
That was a cat going by and their tail just twitching in the way. I see you.
That never happens on my desk. Competently done if you like the setting, but I found the few people I tried to introduce weren't as entertained. Yeah. It's always a bummer when you find something that's really cool that you love and everybody you know is like, that's shit. Because you're like, I'm so excited about this. Everybody else you know is like, why? What's wrong with you? Makes me sad.
I wish I had time to read all of the RPG books that I get in total, but sadly, reading for fun uses up a lot of the same brain cells as writing for fun for me.
More time you spend in the chair, the more time you spend in front of the computer, the more time you spend recording and doing all the other stupid shit that I do, the less time you have to actually read, which is a nightmare.
Well,
for me.
For me, it's worse because cat drama taking place downstairs.
Oh boy.
I write stories that I want to read, so I'm engaged in creating the story that I want to read. So it's the same type of emotional input as reading for enjoyment when I write. So it can be problematic.
Yes, Chuck. It's like spending your day programming and then having no brain power left to write. You are absolutely correct. To a certain degree, it is exactly like that. What was I going to say? Oh, I would sometimes, and still do, be bored, listless, and I can't read anything. Nothing looks good. There's no movie on. There's nothing that engages my brain. And that's when my wife looks at me and she says, there's a story you want to read that no one has written. And that's when I remember, oh yeah, I'm a writer. I can fix this problem. And that's kind of how I got back into writing in general, is because the stories that I wanted to read weren't being written. And that's why I wanted to write them.
My daily schedule is I get up late. I used to get up early in the morning when I was in the Army, so I can get up early in the morning. I hate getting up in the morning. I typically wake up at 8:30 a.m., so Paul is going to go like, what, you slacker? So I wake up at like 8:30 a.m., take care of getting the cats all set up for the morning, eat breakfast, sit down, and by 9:30, I'm working, and I'm sitting at the writing desk every single day until between 3 and 5, usually between 4 and 5. And that's how I produce enough to actually make a living on, is by spending that amount of time every single day. When I'm done eating dinner, mostly I'll watch television. The last week I've been reading books. So it could take your life over.
The Cobbler's Barefoot Children. Yes. 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 I'm supposed to be some kind of programming whiz and all this other kind of shit. And yet my for the longest time, my own infrastructure in my house was a goddamn disaster.
You realize you highlighted the wrong one, right?
Did I?
You did.
No, because this is what
fucking the cobbler, but that was a different one.
Reference to.
Okay.
Come on, keep up, Terry. That would be like somebody asked me why I don't do voice acting for a job. That's why. That's fucking why. I would never get anything else done, because it takes so much energy to do voice work, get it right, get it done correctly, produce. It's a nightmare.
I think it is astonishing that Veronica Giguere can be a professional narrator and an author. That amazes me.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
It's a rarity.
She's got more energy than I do.
Very much a rarity. A lot more energy than I would have.
You have to kind of pick and choose what you're going to do. If I do audio work for anybody else, it's going to fuck my world up, because I've tried it before and I'm never doing it again. Never doing it again. I'll do one-offs. I do some stuff for other shows occasionally, but it's just like lines or a chapter or something like that where I'm playing a character. It's not me doing, full voice narration of a story, somebody else's story. That takes a lot of energy, and I barely have enough energy to do my shit. So that's why I don't do that. Plumber's taps always leak. Yes, there we go. It's the cobbler's children have no shoes. It's the same problem. It's the exact same problem.
So what writers thinking? What do we do? What are we leaving out of our lives that otherwise might be there?
Time, energy to do shit. It is. I know a lot of writers who are like, I miss reading. And it's because they're doing so many different things that reading is one of the casualties. I mean,
it's not burning it, but I'm going to say they're burning creativity.
There's that, and it is energy. It just takes time to do that. And I know some writers who have said before that they won't read anything while they're writing their book because they don't
think that's bullshit.
Because
what am I going to steal from if I don't read somebody else's stuff?
Because they claim that fucks up their style or their plot or anything else. I don't get that. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Maybe it's true for them. It's not been true for me.
It may be.
Now, I will admit that there have been times where I've been reading a book and an idea of something that I could do came to me because of something the other writer did. And that then gets incorporated into mine. But that's writer shit. That happens with every single thing we do.
That's just being human. Monkey see, monkey do. Monkey read, monkey
when you're reading a book, you go, oh, that's pretty.
Or there's that one sentence or turn of phrase that sticks in your brain. You're like, oh, I gotta use that because I have the perfect scene for it. Or the perfect character to rattle that off. Oh, yeah. That's why you thieve like a mofo.
How do we find time to get things done? Basically, we live in a cave. We don't really do anything else.
Okay, so Terry and I, all right, back when I was working full-time at Schlumberger and started the podcast, I wrote lunchtimes, I wrote when I got home at night, I podcasted when I got home at night, and it was a nightmare for my wife, I'm sure, because I was working 10 to 12 hours a day at Schlumberger and then coming home and spending time, whatever energy I had left doing that. I don't have kids. If I had kids, I would not have had any of those luxuries. So I sure as shit wouldn't have the luxury I have now, which is sitting on my fat ass at home. But that is a problem. You have to kind of find your way through it. You have to find the time to do things. You have to find the time to make the shit happen. This is the reason why some writers don't have anything to do with publishing. They would rather let somebody else do all that work that's outside of writing, because that's all they want to do is they want to write. They want somebody else to do all that other work, and they're willing to take a quote unquote pay cut or pay a percentage to somebody else to make that happen. So you just kind of have to pick and choose your battles, and there's no single answer. Everybody's going to have different advice for how that is, but there are plenty of writers who have full-time jobs and do other stuff. If I wasn't podcasting and recording, I would have a lot more time to write. And if I was to have a full-time job again, that would be a problem, because I have to make that decision of whether or not I'm going to continue podcasting, because I just don't know that I would have enough time or the energy, because my health is so shit. So you just kind of have to meander that. I don't know that there's an actual answer, Nathan. I don't know. You just kind of have to use it. We talked about this before, though. 10 minutes at lunch. Get 100 words. When you get home, when you're on the bus, when you're, doing whatever you're doing. Writing on the bus was awesome for me.
That was really good. Get on the bus when you get up in the morning and just drive around town.
If there wasn't a pandemic going on, that might be a cool idea. Or a train ride, something along those lines. That'd be pretty neat too. Those are perfect times to write. I hate to say this, but I know folks who have written they go to the bathroom, they lock the door, they sit on the toilet, and they do their writing there because it's the only way they can get any goddamn privacy. So you got to kind of do it.
Yeah, but then their stories stink.
That was uncalled for. That was so uncalled for. So uncalled for. A stylist with a phone writes snippets on there. Yes, when I have a Crackberry way back in the day, that was, big time. That was awesome. And I've written on iPhones. I've written on, basically sending text messages just myself or emails. However you get to do it or can do it, that's what you got to kind of do. You have to figure it out by yourself and how it works, because nobody knows your situation better than you. Or maybe you should ask your spouse if they have any suggestions or can help you find that time. Other than that, I don't know what to say. I got no clue. All right, what else you got?
An impending doom over here on my desk.
Oh, okay, here we go. Music affects the mood of what I'm writing. What I'm reading can affect my voice. That is a good line. It could affect your voice, yes. And that's why I was saying earlier about some writers refuse to read while they're writing, while they're working on a book, because they're afraid it's going to mess with their voice. I think once you actually have established your voice, I don't think that's as much of a problem as you think it is. When you're finding your voice,
everything that you consume is filtered through you before it comes back out again. So even if you're reading something that you think is cool, you're not going to recreate what you just read that's cool. You're going to make your own brand of what's cool.
Terry, you did this. You did this. You're responsible for that.
You know, I really should narrate books in the shower then, because my story would improve, right? Just like singing in the shower is better.
I don't think there's enough Clorox bleach in the world to wipe out the scum that you are. Oh. What does this even mean? What does this even mean? Who's the more bad? And what is bad? You have to find bad now. Which bad is it? Is it bad? Is it really bad? Is it horrendously bad? Is it just bad? What kind of bad is it? Fuck English. English makes no goddamn sense. So now I'm waiting. I'm waiting to hear what the actual context of this statement is. Unless that was it.
No pressure. We'll just wait for you.
Yeah, we'll just wait for it. Just, Matt, take your time. Just, take your time. We're just gonna sit here and wait patiently.
Actually, that was William that said that.
Was it William? Oh, whoops. Oh, I see. Okay, sorry. Had the thing covered. My bad. The streaming thing. We're still old people trying to figure this out. I see these young kids that got everything going. They got all this 14 monitors and all this control shit. And here we are just with StreamYard. We suck. Bad adjective 1 of poor quality or a low standard. I think
we have pretty low standards.
Yeah, we are pretty low standards, actually. Thought it was a bad joke. Oh God.
Could you ever write a book with nothing but dad humor in it?
No.
I totally think that we should have, a character in one of your horror thriller novels that all it does is have dad humor.
I have a character in Arrival and Evolution who his thing is he always does Looney Tunes voices. At the most inopportune time, whenever he's under stress, that's when Bugs Bunny or Elmer Fudd comes out. So, yeah. So who's a worse writer? Depends. How exactly are you going to quantify that? Is it by popularity?
I don't know that I see that question. What was said here?
What was said? God damn it! Now I gotta find it. Who's the more bad, Terry or Paul?
I don't know that he was talking about writing.
That was my question. What are you talking about? Are bad people? Oh, probably me. Although I got to tell you something. Y'all think I'm the bad guy. You don't hear half the shit he says during the pre-show. He is an awful human
shocked.
being. Awful human being.
It cuts to the bone when you say things like this.
Of course, if you're a patron, you know this. If you're
I'm not a troublemaker.
They're actually I'm the nice guy. Terry wants to be a horror writer. He just can't bring himself to do it.
I have no desire to be a horror writer.
And yet.
I'm just a horrible person.
Yeah, there we go. All right, fine. I'm the horror writer. You're the horrible person. Got it. Wonderful. What? Oh. Pfft. Wow, that is the most British thing I think I've heard you say. The jokes wouldn't be good at Christmas cracker. They have no place here. Wow. Wow, I hadn't heard a Christmas cracker in a long time. I don't think I've. God, when's the last time I saw that? Probably Harry Potter was the last time I saw that actually in a film or a book. Wow.
I saw somebody post the first page of Harry Potter written in the style of Gen Z.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's just about like you'd expect.
Oh no.
I'm like, what? What does that even mean? Even knowing the first page of Harry Potter, I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Is that English? What does that mean?
There are some. Sorry, Shadow's doing his thing again. There are so I need to get a shock mount for my camera. That's what I need to do.
You know, my camera has a shock mount on it. It does pretty well keeping the vibration out. It does work.
I'm gonna have to get one for that. I was not planning on this kind of crazy. Okay, if you swipe at my microphone, I'm whooping your ass.
He says you are not.
He's got one foot, one paw just kind of hanging out there waiting to bash something. Shithead.
Paul, we need to go ahead and drag this to a close. We've been here for 2 hours, my friend.
More than
These
2
people
hours.
have more important things to do.
Didn't you people have more important things to do? It's Saturday and there's like championship NFL things going on. What type of vibration? Nathan, stop. The kind of vibration this
That's
causes.
no foot massager.
Oh my God. All right. Well, I guess we should close this off. If you're watching this on VOD, I got all special and said VOD. We have to do our thing here. If you have a comment about this show, you can send an email to show@deadrobotsociety.com or leave a comment on the YouTube channel, obviously. What else am I doing here? You can tweet me at Paul_E_Cooley. You can find Terry at the Listeners of the Dead Robot Society Facebook group, where a horde of weirdos hang out. Most of them are actually in here. And if you want to see our ugly mugs, obviously you're already here, youtube.com/DRS podcast. We have to thank our wonderful host, Podhost, who makes all 14 bazillion episodes of the Dead Robot Society available as my desk tries to collapse underneath the Shadow Cat. Now, see, you've completely broken me. Thank you. If you want to support the show, you can find us at patreon.com/DRS podcast, where for as little as $1 a month, you get access to exclusive content, private live shows, mostly unexpurgated episodes, depending on how crazy Terry has gotten that day, because he's the reason I have to edit. He's the only reason I have to edit. And at the $10 level, you get your name read. And I actually have it up for once. And our $10 patrons are Shut Up Terry, Summer Wilson, Tony L. Joy, Andrew Smallwood, Veronica Jaguar, Rick Shaw, Lisa Slack, Chris Winder, and Isabel Cushy. Thank you to all of our patrons for making this show possible. We very much appreciate it. And we have one more thing we got to do, Terry.
It's truth.
We are caffeine junkies. Terry and I, the only reason we're able to do what we do, besides the fact that we have our cats to pay for and everything else, is the fact that we are constantly caffeinated.
Caffeinated? What exactly are you doing over there, buddy? That's what I want to know.
Wow, I just have a new idea for a story. But getting caffeinated, I think I need to actually send that to Dave, because I think he would actually like that as a slogan. Get caffeinated. It actually fits. We are sponsored in part by Corpse Coffee.
Where's your cup, man? Why don't you ever show your cup anymore?
Well, because I have my amber mug.
Well, you can have it on your desk.
I forgot to bring it. There it is. So Terry and I rely upon corpsecoffee.com and their wonderful array of coffees, boutique teas, their wonderful webcomic, to get all of our caffeinated needs. So if you want to support a small business and help them and get some badass coffee and teas, go up to corpsecoffee.com and get the dead in your cup.
Get corpsenated.
Get caffeinated.
Caffeinated. There you
caffeinated. Go. Get caffeinated. I've got to send that to him.
So it's a highly caffeinated beverage.
Beverage. Holy shit, we are brain dead. Caffeinated versus caffeinated during COVID might be confusing. You know what? That is a really good point. I hadn't even thought of that.
I don't need no coffeination. That's what I got that third vaccine for.
That's a good. That was good. That was good. Okay, folks, thank you very much for joining us and spending your Saturday with us. And you can always find our shows at deadrobotsociety.com as well as on the YouTube channel. And as I said, patreon.com/DRS podcast. And with that, we are getting the hell out of here because I'm tired of looking at Terry's face, much less listening to him.
I am so slandered.
No, you're not. Folks, have a great Saturday. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll talk to y'all soon.